I love history. For me, I'm not surprised when I see bias in AI in certain areas, because I'm like, when you know the societies that we live in, how they came to be the way they are, the systems that we all work and live in, and I would be surprised if there wouldn't be any bias, because like this current generation, like we said, like it really learns from data, and specifically in those areas where it learns from data that is generated or is based on the historical behavior, for instance, of humans, the choices that they made, well, then you can be fairly certain that there's going to be bias in there in various ways. So in that sense, it just reproduces what it learned. Artificial intelligence suggests intelligence, but they are not really intelligent. They just learn what's in there. So they basically then just reproduce the bias that is in there if there's a bias. So as humans, you need to be the ones then to check for that, to supervise for that. And if you then also don't do that, then again, there's a choice that humans make, because the system won't supervise itself, because it doesn't really understand the bias. It just learns, it sees the patterns, but it doesn't really understand, for instance, like why certain groups are being excluded and others are getting maybe a very positive and pleasant treatment, while others are not. It doesn't understand it, just sees the patterns and then thinks like, okay, that's how it is in the data, then I need to reproduce that. But that doesn't necessarily have to mean that it is ethical to do that, but it has no real understanding of that. So that view really needs to come from humans, but also there you have a problem, because like, if humans need to supervise it, then you also need to be sure that they don't have that bias and that they're also really willing to address that. So there are a lot of elements in there when it comes to like the ethical side and AI. But when you really look at it, you really see that the technology is not the issue. It's really humans. It learns a lot of, let me say, unpleasant behaviors, unpleasant things from humans. And also like this whole supervision part, humans need to do that. And if humans choose not to do that, if they also don't choose to like test the outcomes, because there have been stories, for instance, of systems, algorithms that misclassify people because, yeah, they did not train it based on all the people that basically form the society. So you see a lot of systems that, for instance, don't work that well for Black people. They get misclassified or they get misgendered. And that's simply a fact that on the one hand, you don't have the right data, but you also did not check whether it works for all the different groups. You probably don't also have like a very diverse set of people that are developing and monitoring it. Because, for instance, if I was involved, I would be like, yeah, I think you need to look at that, because even before AI, I knew how stuff went down in society. So that will then also happen there. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting components you can see in here. And at the end of the day, all those components still go back to humans and their behavior. And that's the thing with AI. It is a reflection of how people have historically been behaving. And
right.
So, yeah.
You believe in humanizing the workplace. How do you think AI can influence the psychological, cultural behavior of an entity, an organization? Of course, an organization is made up of a sum of diverse human beings. How do you think that can, and from an ethical standpoint, from a good governance standpoint, how do you think that can assist?
The most important thing, I think, is actually that mirror aspect, how you have evaluated candidates maybe for jobs in the past, or how you have evaluated people that wanted to get a loan in the past. Based on what you can then gather from that the system can also tell you like, well, actually there's quite bias there. And maybe before, like, people, when they were confronted with that, they might say like, no, we don't do that, because of course we don't see color or whatever. But actually, by going through your own data, then your own system can actually also provide you that mirror and say like, okay, I learned this from you, from your data. We can just go on like that if you're cool with that. But then, like, for instance, people find out, you will also need to have explanation for the fact that why didn't you address that issue that was there. Bias in AI is actually way easier to detect and also way easier to address than bias in humans. And this is also a way to quantify stuff, for instance, that you can say like, okay, with people it's always like, yeah, I don't know, or they say this or they say that. And with AI, it's like, okay, I look at statistical patterns and correlations, and this is the findings that we have. So, and then it's again on you as humans, like, okay, are you cool with it? Are you going to address it or not? So I think that aspect is, I think, very valuable to provide that mirror. And if you are then indeed someone that is inclined and willing to address the inequities that you might have found, you can then like adapt your system for that also, so that it actually will like evaluate or look at people more in a more equitable and more equal manner. But that then still again shows like how important humans are in there. It can provide you that mirror, but then you still need to decide that, yeah, you actually want to change that or not. And I think that's the big thing with the technology. Like, people like to like deflect to technology often, like to say, okay, no, the technology, that was the problem. But the thing is like, yeah, it's more like technology placed in the hands of people that are unethical. That's the problem. When I think about AI and ethics, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about humans and ethics. Like, we have not solved that problem. It's not that we have super ethical humans and that now all of a sudden AI comes out of nowhere that is unethical. No, that's not how it is. It's just like we have unethical humans, and that's reflected in the AI that then reproduces that unethical behavior.